So, how about that local sports team?
Not bad at
Um,
all.
let's
Not bad.
let's let's go back before the game. Uh, a lot of people made predictions, and they said, "Oh, this is going to be high scoring. The Ravens are high scoring. They're the number one scoring offense, and the Steelers can score points too. This is going to be a shootout." And I'm thinking, do you know what these teams do to each other? Did you think this was going to be a high scoring or low scoring game going in?
No, no, it was going to be what it has been always. I mean, it's going to be 18 to 16, which seems to be like the average score, or 17-10, or one of those things. And I think it's now what, like 9 games in a row. It's been by one score or less. And I'm pretty sure. I think there was one in there, Joe, where I think we kind of blew them out a little bit. Otherwise, I think it would be even longer because, like, even when Ben was in there going against, yes, yeah, Sacco, it was like always a one score game. I mean, it's just I don't care what anybody says. I know that the Chiefs and the 49ers have some good stuff lately, and the Bills and the Chiefs have been good lately. The Steelers and the Ravens are the best rivalry in all of football, and they have been for probably 15 to 20 years,
Yeah,
without question.
yeah.
And it's funny because that makes the Browns and the Bengals fans tick, which we've said here several times. Like, okay, Bengals, go play with your toys. Nobody cares. We know you do, but we don't care about you. We are Ravens and we are Browns, and I'm pretty sure that's the Ravens feel the same way.
Well, if they were any good, it would be a rivalry. That's a part of what makes it good. Is every year the Steelers and Ravens are not the best teams, but they're competitive. They're playoff caliber. You can't say that about the Browns, and I mean, now the Bengals are somewhat okay now, but that's part of what makes is yes, they beat the
Yeah.
crap out of each other, but they were also pretty successful, and that's another thing that makes this such a big rivalry.
And I don't know if maybe the people watched that Bengals game, and that's where they got that from. Because again, I mean, honestly, you looking back at that, I really wish the Bengals would beat the Ravens because we would be. I mean, because that Browns loss may come back to really haunt Baltimore when it's all said and done. Because we already have one in hand. Technically, we could almost afford to lose to them. Because I don't think. I mean, the Browns are so on a downward spiral now. It used to be, I think all of us had as a split. I have a hard time thinking they're going to lose, but we'll see. Because the other tradition is this: these games are always close, Steelers or Ravens, and we've gotten the best of them. The week after, the Ravens and Steelers have a horrible track record the week after this game against whoever they play. I mean, it's bad. Like, I don't know how many losses each team's had. It's pretty funny. But it's like, okay, we have a great game and then we go lose to whoever. So, you
They
still
just
got to beat the Browns.
they just beat the crap out of each other. They just they
Right.
I think it's just such a physical thing that they're
Yeah.
just and then an extremely physical game and then have to play the Thursday after. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, no, it really is. And so I mean, it was really good football yesterday. You had like I think like 6 games or 5 games where you had playoff teams or potential playoff teams playing each other, which is kind of unfortunate. The NFL is not like the way it is anymore. A lot of times it's boring, but Seahawks beating the Niners and the Bills and the Chiefs right after the Steelers and Ravens, and it was good. You have the Cowboys and the Texans tonight, so. Although I really do feel like if the Cowboys keep losing, I think Mike McCarthy is done. But that's another podcast. So, no, I mean it was what it always was. I mean, I don't think anybody goes into Pittsburgh or even when they're at Baltimore and say it's going to be a blowout, it's going to be high scoring. We expect that 18-16 score is almost exactly what you would expect, without question.
Yeah.
Um,
And the Steelers have won 8 of the last 9 uh games
Including a
against the
couple sweep.
Ravens.
And I would argue it's very confidence building as a Steeler fan because I really feel like the Ravens were the best team in the NFL coming into that game yesterday. I think it was between them and Detroit with Kansas City a little bit second because if you look at the Chiefs, they haven't been blowing anybody out like they should. They've struggled in every game. They've had to come back in a lot of the games. It's been very competitive in the teams they've played. And, You'd think they'd be world beaters, but they barely skated by on a few. And of course, there's that controversial calls on a few of them. The block field goal, I think, was last week, and where the Ravens, uh, they're just number one offense, number one running attack, number one pass efficiency. I mean, they were number one across the board. And if you were questioning this defense for whatever reason, I think the defense made a big statement yesterday and saying, it was a team effort. Like TJ Watt didn't have a huge game, but who's had a big game in the last 2 weeks is Patrick McQueen. I mean, Queen has been phenomenal. He's been everywhere. He's been on a tear. I think yesterday was personal for him. And I think he took it out on the Ravens yesterday. He was great.
Well, it's a great thing that Tomlin did of really enforcing that to Patrick Queen. Like, hey, they didn't want you. We did. They didn't want you. This is your old team. I mean, he had them go out on the coin toss. That's usually something you just do for the captains, but they had Patrick Queen go out there
Yes.
to make them extra fired up. And yeah, you know, we
Yeah.
talked about this. The
Yeah.
Patrick Queen is, started out slow. It's understandable. He has so much responsibility and he's on a new team and a new system. But yeah, he's really been coming on lately.
All of a sudden, these last 3 games, we're seeing the Patrick Queen we thought we'd see in week one. And I think you're right. Maybe we were a little impatient. But I mean, yeah, he's been great. And by the way, has anyone found Deontay Johnson? Because the 2 times he was thrown to, I mean, and again, uh, maybe we again reel him back on Kenny Pick a little bit because both of those were fade patterns and he ran them wrong twice. I ran it back to watch it he ran the fade pattern wrong. Like he had to get in position. He didn't give Lamar any target. He's way too close to the sideline for a fade. I mean, it was horrible route running. Gee, I wonder where we've seen that before.
Exactly. How many times when Deontay Johnson was with the Steelers did we say, was that Deontay or was that the quarterback?
Right.
Now we know it was Deontay because now he's even doing it on multiple teams. Yeah, it was funny. It was funny how Tomlin threw shade at him before the game, and yeah, he did nothing, and they gave him a chance, and yeah, he just like,
Yeah.
buddy, what do you
It's funny,
want,
like,
man?
I don't remember Cowher being too far off the path, but, like, Tomlin's always so good at being somewhat humble and respecting the team, but you can tell he's happier than a pig in poop when they beat the Ravens. He's doing the gorilla pomble. I think that meme out there where he's going like this, that was a Ravens game. I mean, we can go all the way back to the famous kickoff return. I mean, he will probably never say it unless it's over. He's retired and they do the what do they call it on the NFL? The
The round table things, yeah, yeah, yeah.
biography, and then he'll come out and say, "Oh, I hated the Ravens." But I mean, it's obvious. It's so obvious how he feels.
It's a whole other game within the game because um he and Harbaugh have played each other, I think 36 times or something like that, or whatever the number
Mhm.
is. And they get in each other's head. Well, I think Tomlin gets in Harbaugh's head. I think I think that they made the Ravens do a lot of things that they never do. Like they played a lot of formations with 3 wide. By the way, you have the best running back and the second best running back in the league. You might want to have him out there, and he was only out there 50% of the time. What are you doing? What are you doing? It's like, oh no, we don't want Derrick Henry out there. We'd rather have more of Deontay Johnson.
Oh, I don't know what that was. I mean, that was even some of the announcers saying that. And I think even last night, I was watching a bit of the Sunday night game, and they came back after the halftime show, and even Chris Collinsworth was like, "Yeah, I didn't understand how Derrick Henry is not in that game." So it's like, I mean, everybody that either love or hate was all wondering that. And the funny thing, Joe, is when you look at the difference of it, is like, okay, it seems like we always beat them the first whoever's up, wherever it is, we always get them. Then you get nervous, well, the Ravens will be ready for us, but we somehow seem to still trip them up. So that's when you say he's in his head, that to me is solidifies that. It seems like we get your back again. I mean, Lamar Jackson has yet to run a touchdown against us. I mean, he was horrible yesterday. 16 of 33, 59 VPR, and yeah, 200 yards. I mean, he was horrible.
It is more than just a coincidence. Now it is an absolute trend. The Steelers have Lamar Jackson's number. They stop
Yep.
him every single time. And this is a dude that is putting up the best quarterback numbers of any quarterback. He's having one of the best seasons of any quarterback ever. But but that game, he looked horrible. I don't know what the Steelers do. I know they have, they used to have the Jordan rules for Michael Jordan, where basically they beat the crap out of him every time they
Right.
got the
Yeah.
ball. But I think they do a little bit of that with Lamar Jackson, but I don't know what is going on. But man, the Steelers are definitely the Lamar Jackson's kryptonite.
Yeah, Chuck Daly, who was from around here too, somewhere. I forget where off the top of my head. Yeah, he said, "Well, here's the rules. You just beat the ever living piss out of them." I mean,
Exactly.
so we got the same thing. And the funny thing was, and I watched this last night, is I was telling you as we went on air that my wife was at the game yesterday, and uh, if the way the rest of the season plays out, if the Bills were to finish with the number one seed or whatever, and you'd have to say because there's a lot of chance about Josh Allen being MVP too. That could have been a turning point right there. I mean, Josh Allen goes up against the Chiefs, has a phenomenal game. That touchdown run was incredible, right? And nothing from it all from Lamar Jackson like that. Nothing. He looked horrible yesterday. And if it kind of pans out that way, where they lose another game like that, yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
The way that plays out for sure, you may have to say, well, that could have been a turning point, is that Steelers loss.
It's huge. It's huge. And that Bills game was huge for the Bills because they absolutely, if they want to do anything, they want to make it the Super Bowl, then they need that home field advantage. And the way to get home field advantage is by taking out the Chiefs. And
Right.
they had to now. The Steelers don't have Super Bowl aspirations. They just want to win a damn playoff game. But if you win the AFC North and host a playoff game, you have a much better chance. You have a much better chance of being of winning a playoff game when you're the 3 seed as opposed to the 7th seed going into Buffalo and playing the number 1 seed or the number 2 seed or however the heck that works. So
Well,
yeah,
yeah.
huge game for the Bills and the Steelers.
Well, that's a good point too on that because I mean it's like, well, we've done all this against the Ravens, but during that time span, we've also like not won a playoff game. So there's like, okay, it's great, but start winning some playoff games on top of that, and it's going to even be better because you go back and it's almost funny the dichotomy about it. I remember when the Raiders was in '76 and they beat us, and Phil Villapiano is always famous for saying that Super Bowl, we didn't have the Super Bowl score put on our rings. We had the AFC Championship game because they beat the Steelers, who didn't have Rocky, who didn't have Franco,
Right,
who didn't have
right.
like Cap. Okay, yeah, you beat us, whatever, you got lucky. Um, you remember those games with Troy picking off, the pass and running it back. And like, it was like, holy crap, the AFC Championship game, it's us in Baltimore. Are you kidding me? Like, it couldn't be. No, I mean, they earned their way through the playoffs back then. It meant so much more, it means a lot now. But like you said, it's a great point. It'll mean even more if come January or February, whenever it is now, we're actually in contention. Because after this, Joe, sitting at 8-2 on top of the division, I know we're Steelers podcast. We always, I feel, call it pretty straight. You really got to say it's probably Bills 1, Chiefs, and I guess Ravens 2, and we're right in the mix right now. We're right in the
Yeah.
mix. The Chargers look great against the Bengals. And the Chargers are probably sitting there, a team we've already beat. The Ravens are a team we've already beat.
Mhm.
Kansas City coming in here Christmas Day, who knows? Now all of a sudden, that schedule that you and I thought might be insurmountable, I don't know.
Now it's a completely different situation. I mean, they're sitting at 8-2, and they have the Browns twice, the Bengals twice, and the Ravens. The Browns are just it's very easy to think that you could go 2-0 against them. The Bengals, I don't know what the heck is going on with them. I mean, then you have your gauntlet of Eagles, Ravens, Chiefs, but still, I could see this team being 12-5.
Right. Right. And that's the thing too. Like, Joe Burrow, I mean, can you imagine whoever our counterparts might be in Cincinnati? I mean, that guy's throwing for like 400 yards a game.
I feel bad for that dude. That
I
that is
mean,
ridiculous.
yeah, like Jamar Chase once again last night going off on the head coach, which calling him a name, which I will not ever repeat here, obviously, or anywhere. But I mean, he went off on. I mean, it's like they're going to come in and probably score 28 points, and we're going to beat them somehow. But it's like, yeah, what a train wreck they are. The Browns at this point, I already had some of my Browns fans text me today, like, don't f this up. You got to beat us. We want the number one pick, and we're we're going against the Giants at this point. Don't f it up. Please win. They're ready to start over. They're just ready. I don't think in the 40 years of my life and as a Steeler fan, I ever had a Browns fan say, "Please beat us." You know?
Please beat us. Please don't
Right,
let us beat you. Oh my
right.
goodness, that's so funny.
So I mean, and yeah, and to your point though, it's a Thursday night game, 8:15. Yeah, I don't know. After a Ravens game, it's this classic Tomlin trap game,
Yeah,
which we
yeah,
also always talk about. A team he should beat and he doesn't.
yeah, yeah. The I don't know if you saw any of the Browns Saints game, but
Ugh.
basically the Browns have given up. They've basically just
It's what
said,
it looks like.
yeah, yeah.
It's what it looks like. I don't know if it's them and the Giants are in a race for just total turmoil. At least the Bengals are so good offensively. Even if they were giving up, they're still putting up 4 touchdowns a game. Um, I just can't. It's too funny. And the Giants were on our hit list too. We took care of them, and Danny Dimes benched today. That just kills me because there's an organization where, and all the crap we can say about Steelers, you gave 40 million to a guy, decided to keep him over Saquon Barkley. Barkley is absolutely annihilating everybody.
Oh
He
yeah.
single-handedly put the Eagles on his back on Thursday, won that game like he did with the Giants all those years, and that stat was amazing to me. They are with when Danny Jones starts and they don't have Saquon, whether he was with the Giants or now that he's with the Eagles, they're 10-22 and average 16 points a game. Okay, this is just me finding that stat today. How the heck isn't somebody in the Giants front office last year like, wait a minute?
Every time the Eagles play, Saquon Barkley has an amazing game where he does amazing things, and everybody says the same thing. Like you just said, it's like, what is wrong with the Giants? What is wrong with you people? How did you let this guy go?
Right. We're retrospectively with the Steelers right now. I think most of the moves have been pretty good. Uh, I think we all, including myself, lambasted him for letting Deontay go. Not that Deontay was Jerry Rice, but not having a backup plan. Uh, it seemed to work out last week with the receiver we brought in. Who knows? Maybe he'll get back into game shape tomorrow for Thursday's game. But we can always complain what we want about the Steelers, but they're not the Giant. They're not run like that, right? Or look at the Jets. I mean, it's like we're very lucky in Pittsburgh.
Well, it's a cliche, but winning teams know how to win and losing teams know how to lose. Like look at
Mhm.
that Packers Bears game.
Oh,
You know, the Bears had that game and they blew it on a blocked field goal. Because the Bears are a bunch of losers. Losing teams find ways to lose. Winning teams find ways to win. The Steelers could have easily lost that game yesterday, and they figured out a way to win. Not even scoring a dang touchdown. My goodness, poor Chris Boswell today. He probably can't walk. He was kicking so much.
I just shared a meme before you and I went on air. I thought it was fantastic. My friend shared it with me. It's Ralphie touching the electric leg in A Christmas Story, and it says Boswell's leg and Steeler fans. I mean, it's incredible and the way he's come along, what he's doing, and how he's doing it. And yeah, I mean, that guy, yeah, make sure he stays and retires in the black and gold because although, I mean, that is the thing about Tucker. Like, I think they have a shelf life, and his has started to pass. And I don't think Justin Tucker's on the Ravens next year.
I don't know what's going on with him. He
Uh,
got to be hurt. I'm checking now. I think
he's like
he's only
36,
34. He's not even that
34.
old.
So he should be, yeah, because Gary Anderson was kicking into his 40s
Yeah.
and kicking well. So I don't know whether it's a Steve Blass kind of a thing, right? That I hate to use that term because he's such a great guy, Steve Blass, but Yeah, I don't know where it went or where it's gone, but yeah, yep, it's
He's
not
got to
there.
be hurt. He just has to be hurt. But yeah, the offense, my goodness. There were some good things. Russell Wilson did move the ball a little bit. The offense, the running game did do some things. And I know it's Steelers Ravens, but guys, you gotta score some touchdowns. Even Tomlin said it's like, I'm tired of Boswell winning special teams player of the week. We need that means he kicked too many field goals. Um, they gotta fix that.
They do. I mean, Wilson was a little disappointing yesterday. He didn't have much of a better day than Lamar Jackson, really. The interception was unlike him. It was a bad one. He doesn't normally do that, but he did, and it was a bad one. I felt like that drive they had momentum, Joe. I can't, I'm not being a Yinzer. I really felt like they were going to score in that drive. I think they just had it. I mean, he was starting to hit Mount Washington, and that was going great, and it just seemed like that kind of, yeah, yeah, and when they did that, I tweeted out, I said, "Oh boy, that may be the one that comes back to haunt us because that was going to put that game out of reach
That
if they go
was
down and score a touchdown there."
that was scary and kind of unforgivable. I don't think Tomlin was very happy about that because they asked Tomlin about the, if you look at the play, Russ just throws it up there and Washington just like looks at it. And I think a lot of people were saying like, bro, why didn't you go
Throw it out
back
the
there?
middle of
Why
the
didn't you
end
do
zone.
something? Why didn't
Yeah,
you try, you're a giant man. Why don't you just jump for it? I think from what I heard, maybe Washington assumed like there was a receiver back there or something like that. I don't know.
because
I
he
don't
was so
know.
far over his head.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went back and looked at that too. I don't even think he was going to catch that.
Yeah. 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 But basically Tomlin said, no, Russell should never have thrown that. That was the problem with that play. So
Yeah,
yeah, you can't do that. And now you have this thing that we've been talking about. We've either been talking about Russell Wilson and Justin Fields and this, who's going to play, who's going to stuff. Well, now it's established Russell Wilson's going to play, but now we have Justin Fields packages. Yay!
yeah. I mean, it's cool. I like it as long as it works. And the only thing I sit there and fear though is I still think about those 6 fumbles he had, and like if you're going to give it to him, okay, but I sure as hell hope he doesn't fumble the ball because that's a team there you don't want to do that to. You can probably afford to
Right.
do that against Cleveland. You cannot afford to do that. You can't afford to do that against Cincinnati either because they're going to make you pay. You got Philadelphia coming up, whatever. But yeah, that's something there that can't happen. You had the classic Van Jefferson drop yesterday, which is a horrible drop. I mean, it wasn't the best throw, but Van
Calvin
Jefferson.
Austin sucked too.
Calvin Austin's like, even Muth wasn't I don't know if he just didn't get the ball enough, but only 2 catches for 14 yards. So there's still work to be done. I still feel like if Washington wasn't the second leading scorer on the team yesterday, by the way, you'd have to say, where the hell are the tight ends? It's like we were promised tight ends. Where are the tight ends? And it's like we're not seeing as much as I think we would like.
I don't understand what's going on with Firemouth. He had 2 targets. That's it.
Yep.
Darnell Washington had twice as many targets. Like,
Yeah.
I don't understand. Why did you why did you give all this money to this dude if you're not going to play him? The only reason I could think of is that Firemouth is just not the greatest blocker. Okay, so what?
Right.
He's only a good receiver. Oh no. Throw him the damn ball.
Right. Like, Mark Andrews has 5 touchdowns this year.
Eh,
And I mean, it's like, I think, yeah, I think, yeah, throw him the damn ball. That's exactly right. Throw him the damn ball. He needs to have the ball. Yeah, but I mean, the other stuff I thought one of the things that really did well again is that running game. The Ravens had a hard time stopping the run there for a little while. And that's where that drive was going. I kind of thought, why aren't we running it here instead of rolling Wilson out to the right? And, anyway, I mean, just they won the game. But yeah, Joe, I mean, 18 points. And I was wrong. I tweeted that out too. Like, field goals are not going to beat this Ravens team. But
I said the exact same
yeah,
thing.
they ended up okay. They ended up winning, and I guess proving us wrong. But you're right. If you look at this schedule, Browns, it could probably beat them. This will not beat the Bengals, I don't think. I mean, now the defense could prove us wrong again. But man, the Bengals have been scoring at an alarming rate. And you better bring your A game to beat that Bengals team, even though they're bad and they do find a way to lose, Joe. You're right.
It's
I think they'll beat
amazing.
those Bengals teams, but you need to come together. You need to come
That
together.
that that Bengals offense is just unstoppable. Joe Burrow is so good. Jamar Chase is so good, and T Higgins when they're all out there together, you can't stop them. You're right.
No,
You just have to hope to outscore them, like the
no.
Chargers did last night.
But I think Jamar Chase is going to walk right out that door
Oh
coming
yeah,
into the season at this point, and um, whoever gets him is going to get a hell of a weapon. But that's the thing; like you better make sure it's a good quarterback. Because Burrow, yeah, yeah. But you had the best point of the whole show here so far. You're right. Teams that lose find a way to lose, and the Bengals are one of the premier teams of being losers.
yeah, they're perennial losers.
They're perennial losers, and it's they may prove us wrong. Just a few years ago, they make it to the Super Bowl, played a pretty good game in that Super Bowl, and you thought maybe they finally have taken that monkey off their back. But guess what? Here we are,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
yeah,
they're gonna lose Jamar Chase. They're probably gonna lose T Higgins, and it's just
right,
and everything they had that they had something good, and they're just gonna throw it away. But they're idiots. They're just it's just really stupid,
yeah,
poor organization.
yeah.
Um, yeah,
And the other
I
thing with Justin Fields, like, okay, you like having him in there, I like having him in there, but the slide was a little early. Like, I know I'm not trying to be, whatever, Debbie Downer here, Steve.
you gotta know when to
Gotta know
slide.
when to
That could
slide.
have really hurt them.
Yeah. Yep. You really got to know when to slide. So, if you want to do this, let's keep on doing it, but you better make sure A hand holds on the ball and be aware of where he's at.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
But whatever, whether it's Fields or it's Russell or whatever, they gotta fix the red zone. The numbers are bad. Like either way, either Justin Fields or I mean Justin Fields' red zone numbers were a little bit better, but they're still bad, and that's
Well, and once again, we saw Broderick Jones holding again yesterday, a couple of times, and like again, I mean that's another thing too, where he's got to pick it up. I mean, it's just I don't know what else to say about the kid. It's
they flat out asked Tomlin after the game. It's like they basically said, Broderick Jones, he kind of sucks, doesn't he? He's like, no, I'm standing behind him. Like what other choice do you have? There's like no, it's not like there's anybody behind him to push him or whatever. I think it's like either Broderick Jones or Spencer Anderson or something like that. It's like, hey, we're
right.
just stuck with this guy and we
Yeah.
hope he figures it out.
No, you definitely want Broderick Jones, but
Yeah.
and then that was fun though too. I mean, he was true Steeler. I mean, it got Chippy in there. That's the chippiest I've seen it in a while, where there's pushes and punches almost being thrown, and that was kind of cool. It was definitely old school Ravens Steelers. This game matters kind of a thing.
When it was 18-10, I said, you watch. They're going to score a touchdown. This is going to overtime. And I was almost right. You
Yeah,
knew the Ravens were going to score a touchdown and it was going to come down to a 2-point conversion. And then I don't know what the hell they were thinking there. That was like, man, you think the Steelers coaches call some questionable plays. My goodness. They didn't even have Derrick Henry for a 2-point play. Now, I'll give the Steelers lots of credit. What do we see over and over again, day after day in training camp? 7 shots. What is 7 shots? Basically, a 2-point conversion play.
conversion,
Yeah,
right? Which
they
they
practice the hell out of it.
they do. They
Now,
do. I kind of thought the opposite a little bit. I thought they're going to stop this. I just if it was anybody else, maybe not. And that's the thing. You bring in Derrick Henry, everybody in that stadium knows who that ball's going to. However, he's so good that I'm with you though. I'm surprised Henry wasn't in on that play, even as a decoy. You know,
yeah,
um,
yeah.
because I think you're having at least the inside linebacker, shadowing him, and that was the end guy to end up getting to Lamar Jackson.
How about that play where and Lamar Jackson has been doing this all year, where he's being chased, he scrambles, he runs to like almost the sideline, he gets away, and then he throws a perfect pass to the wide receiver, and it just bounces off his head or something like that. Like, hey, buddy, your
Yeah.
job is wide receiver. You might want to try to catch the ball.
Well, it's so weird. Sometimes Lamar Jackson, because he's so good, he has that ability where I think sometimes the receivers like, oh, he's not going to get that. I mean, holy shit.
Right.
It's, like John Elway used to be that way. Or Randall Cunningham, like, whoa, he's going to, and maybe they just doubt him. But yeah, no, he just does that, and yeah, and they pull off that 2 point, they block 2 point conversion. The only thing again I don't like is everyone thought, well, the Ravens are going to go for the onside kick. They certainly had the time to do it, but now that part of that rule is so stupid. You got to announce it's an onside kick. I
Yeah.
mean, no, I've seen some great high school playoff games in the last couple of weeks where they didn't announce it, and it was fun. And we all remember Cowher's famous onside kick against the Cowboys in Super Bowl 30. I really feel like that gave the momentum to the Steelers. It didn't turn out the way we'd want to. Thank you, Neil O'Donnell. But that's what's fun. And why the hell would you eliminate that at the NFL? I
I
mean, you just
I hate all the kickoff stuff. It looks
oh, it's
stupid.
awful. It's awful. It looks stupid. It's dumb.
They kick the ball and everybody has to be perfectly still while the ball is going above the head, and it looks so dumb, and it hasn't resulted in anything good. It's either a touchback or a crappy return. It's just get rid of that stupid
Right.
stuff.
I think there's been maybe one return for a touchdown. I know there's been a couple punt returns, but I don't think there's been any. I don't know. You're right. It's dumb. And so, like, honestly, I didn't want to see the Ravens get the ball back, but I sat there and thinking, yeah, they got to announce it. So what fun is that? Of course they're going to kick it off.
Yeah.
So
Um,
yeah,
but let's hear it for the kids. Um, Zach Frazier and Mason McCormick on the offensive line has basically transformed that line, and they are both amazing. And Peyton Wilson might have had the play of the game with that
yes.
strip, whatever interception, whatever you want to call it. I still can't pull. I still have no idea how he pulled that off.
I don't either. I mean, he played that so perfectly and so well, and he got right in there and he just outmuscled it. He wanted it more. He wanted it more.
Yeah.
He literally took that ball away. I mean, just the dexterity to do that and the mental. I mean, it was great. You're right. That play's probably not getting as much praise as it should have been.
Yeah.
It was
Um,
phenomenal.
the other thing about that 2 point conversion, the Steelers called a timeout before they ran the play. And I think everybody was thinking the same thing. Tomlin cannot manage timeouts. Don't you think you might need those timeouts, dummy? No. But actually, I think what ended up happening was they called the timeouts, then the Ravens changed the play, maybe. I don't know. I don't know
I
what
don't know. Yeah,
happened,
right,
but
right. No, it was brilliant all around, and it was yeah, the Steelers are sitting at 8-2. They've got a game in hand over the Ravens, and that Browns loss to Baltimore may be the one that comes back to bite them. So yeah, who knows? That's the thing. That's the only thing that has me worried Thursday, Joe, is how the hell did you lose to the Browns? If they can lose to the Browns, we can too. So you still, as much as in turmoil as they are, agreed. But I will say Chubb looked pretty good against the Saints, but it's about the only thing that looked good.
they still have Nick Chubb. They still have Miles Garrett. Um,
Hmm.
he
He's
still has
also having a
he's
quiet year.
yeah, yeah. Well, I'm sure he leads in some, made up statistical category.
Right. The pro
But
football forecast is, yeah.
yeah, but the big X factor that we haven't dealt with before is Jameis Winston. And like if it was Deshaun Watson in there, this was a guaranteed win for the Steelers because that guy was a piece of crap on and off the field. But Jameis Winston can throw 5 touchdowns and 5 interceptions in the same game. He is just a wild card, and
Yeah.
I don't know. It's going to be very interesting.
Their defense is what really let them down yesterday because when we're talking about what Lamar Jackson did and what Russell Wilson did, Jameis Winston quietly almost threw for 400 yards yesterday. He
Wow.
completed most of those passes, 142 of them to Jerry Judy. So again, you're right. Yeah, I mean they're going to stretch the field Thursday. So and I felt lately they were pretty good yesterday, but some of our defenses, like Joey Porter Jr., has been off a little bit the last couple of weeks. I don't know if he's injured. I don't know what it is, but Jameson Winston's going to come out there and he's going to start firing, and they're going to give Chubb the ball. Probably 12 or 15 times. It's going to be the Chubb and Winston show, and that's what they're going to have to do. And we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I
Going to
mean,
be a
yep,
real test of the secondary.
yeah,
Um, yeah. Um, ever since Jameis Winston's been in there, they beat the Ravens. They scored 29. Well, they only scored 10 against the Chargers. They only scored 14. So I was going to say maybe they're scoring a lot, but still they have the potential to score a lot. So
Yeah,
um, you
yeah,
you got to be on it. And you know, and I know the Browns are probably thinking, okay, let's tank the season, but let's beat the Steelers because that's our Super Bowl.
right, right. And another guy that had a pretty good game yesterday too. He didn't get in the end zone, but had a solid statistical game. And a guy that kills us all time is David Njoku. I mean, he had a great
Mm,
game yesterday, and so they're gonna have to be on the tight ends. So yeah, it's a challenge. It is not a gimme game on Thursday. It
yeah,
just isn't. And that's the AFC North as a whole. But you're right. I mean, they're 2-8. They're reeling. The Saints just, no pun intended, marched all over them. But yeah, I can't believe that just came out of my mouth. But yeah, so perfect. This is the perfect Tomlin trap game, and hopefully they can get over that.
yeah, yeah. But 8-2, just let's enjoy it. This is incredible.
Yeah, that's right.
This is beyond, I think, our wildest dreams before the season started. That
Definitely mine. Definitely
that they
mine. I
they went
remember
eight out
setting
of
that
ten.
saying the only reason I feel like I would be wrong would be is if they actually do go to Russell Wilson, and he starts figuring out a way to win this Arthur Smith offense starts clicking around him. And that's kind of, I think, what has happened. And I think a lot of these guys, like Peyton, you talked about Peyton yesterday, they're stepping up. These younger guys on the offensive line, some on the defense, are really stepping up that we've seen that maybe we weren't really expecting. And again, they had Cam Sutton all around yesterday. He played dime linebacker. They didn't use him in any other defensive format other than dime linebacker, which is kind of interesting. He didn't have a tackle or anything, but he played very well. He had good coverage, and Mark Andrews could not get open. He did a good job on that. So it's really interesting. It's not the no name defense, but it's kind of like a I don't know what the hell we're doing defense, but it's working.
They're
you know?
they're easing Cam Sutton in, which is good because
Yeah.
they still have Beanie Bishop out there for a little bit, so
Mm-hmm.
that's
Yeah.
good. But
Yeah. And I feel like you're right. Going back, you had a good point there too. If they are able to get the interceptions off of Jameis Winston, which is very highly possible, then I think they could turn this game around real quick and put it out of reach.
it's crazy.
Very
It's
much so.
crazy. And then after this, you get a week and a half off.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I think the players view it as, yes, it sucks that we play 3 days later, but we get a week and a half off. So let's
Right.
just grit our teeth and get through it.
Yep. Yep. For sure. But hey, you know what? Like you said, let's soak it in. We're 8-2 with probably that being probably the marquee win of the season so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is one of the biggest regular season wins in this season, or maybe the past few seasons. This is just amazing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, just love it, love it. As of right now, they are the 3 seed in the playoffs, and they would have the Ravens come here again. Yeah, oh God, not again.
That's what I mean. You and I always make a backhanded crack at Three Rivers versus Heinz Field, but I was at that game when Troy picked off that pass, and I'm telling
Oh
you
my God.
that was like holy. I mean, it was just pandemonium.
It was probably the loudest that stadium's ever been.
I think so. Yeah, I mean, without question, without question, I can't imagine any of them being louder. I
Yeah.
mean, the Chiefs are always down there they're testing the sound decibels, and we don't do that, but that without question was the loudest for sure.
Another team I'm just shocked at is the Broncos. I mean, they looked horrible when the Steelers played them, and now they got the 7th seed in the playoffs right now.
Well, and that was my thing. I thought Bo Nix was the best quarterback. He was excellent at Auburn. Things didn't work out. Goes to Oregon. He's very much he does not turn the ball over. Uh, you know, he's very smart with the football, and he is turning out to be the Broncos may have caught lightning in a ball there. They may have something to actually build on for the first time in a long time in Denver
That's
on the
crazy.
offense.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. You have 3 quarterback situations that are really good. Bo Nix with the Broncos, Jaden Daniels with Washington, and Drake May with New England. He looks like he might be the real thing too. And
Right.
the jury's still out on Williams and with the Bears. I mean, talk about your loser organizations, but
Well, right.
uh,
Right.
um, that's I mean that's a great and that just speaks to when you get your quarterback, everything else falls into place. So
And and that's I was thinking that last night a little bit. Like, here's Josh Allen looking great, and then you had the thing with Danny Jones this morning. I'm driving around, like I told you, I drove so much today. You think about these things and thinking, and in that draft, the Giants took Danny Jones before they took Josh Allen was the seventh pick. Danny
oh
Jones
my
was the
God,
sixth.
they
And you
just
got to sit there
damn.
like, what the fluke are we doing? You know, um,
Yeah. Yeah. And then to add insult to injury, they decide, let's give this guy 40 million a year.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, Joe, because we talk about the Steelers in comparison. I really feel like the Steelers are very aware of what's going on in their locker room. And I think they try to best either not so much, I guess you could call it placate, but they're aware of it and they make adjustments accordingly. That locker room, you can't tell me those Giants players weren't sitting there like, they gave 40 million to that guy? And
And they
and
let Saquon Barkley go and they
right.
kept this dude.
Right, and don't act like you guys don't watch because they all saw what Saquon did Thursday night. They saw what he did the week prior when he did like the backwards hurdle crap, which was just insane. And he's out there doing that stuff and winning games and running for over 100 yards and catching the ball and doing all that stuff. And we gave 40 million to Danny Jones, who has done nothing.
Saquon Barkley's out there doing luchador stuff like you see in like, fighting for the WCW cruiserweight title or something like
Right,
that. And
catch as catch can, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. He's like frog splash from Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh
But
man.
no, that's the thing, and I feel like it goes back to your point where winning organizations find ways to win, and the Steelers, thank God, are still doing that. I know we
Yeah.
haven't had a playoff win in a long time, but we're not sitting there at 2-8.
Well, one more thing. Another thing the national experts are saying is Mike Tomlin should be coach of the year. And if that happens, and like let's say the Steelers, you know, do not win a playoff game and he still wins coach of the year, there will be riots in Pittsburgh.
Oh
It
yeah,
will not
no,
go
I
well.
agree. If he wins a couple playoff games, I don't see how he's not.
Right. Oh, totally.
Yeah, I can't even think of anybody really that would be. And look at the Niners. The Niners are struggling right now. They fell to 5-5 with yesterday's loss. You could argue maybe the Chargers. If the Chargers go in there and finish as a fourth seed,
I'm
they
absolutely shocked at the Chargers. I did not think Harbaugh would turn around them that quickly. That's amazing.
right. And the NFL loves Harbaugh, and I could see them, giving him nod over Tomlin. But yeah,
But
interesting to see how it goes.
another thing with the Bills and the Steelers, the Bills took a chance. They could have played it a little bit conservative against the Chiefs, but they knew that if like you're winning by 5 or 6 against Mahomes with 2 minutes left, that's you might as well just not even play the rest of the game. You know the Chiefs are going to win, so they went for it. And the Steelers similarly, they went for it by going with Russell Wilson. So you got to take the chances. You can't be timid.
That's where I kind of thought last year, if the Lions would have got to the Super Bowl, they may have had a chance to beat Kansas City because that guy's so bat nuts crazy. He's like you said, and it's a 4th and 8. They're probably going to go for it because he's going to figure, why the hell would I give the ball back to Patrick Mahomes? And yeah, you kind of live and die by that, and they did against the Niners in the NFC title game. But Lions just kicked the never living snot out of Jacksonville, and that's what I mean by they're beating teams they should beat by quite a bit, where the Chiefs were not, and the Ravens really were not either. So we'll see where the Detroit Lions end up. But they right now have number 1 seed in the NFC, and they may not be giving that up.
The Lions are amazing. It's almost like
Yeah.
every game they win like 50-6 or something like that. It's amazing. They are
It's
just on
hard.
another level.
I'm just thinking, Joe, they play the Bears on Thanksgiving Day. Yeah, they play the Bears. So how many years we watch years like, oh, good, it's the Bears and the Lions, and they both have like combined 5 wins.
Right.
At least you got to see Barry Sanders, have his
Right.
280 yards, and it's their 3rd win of the year. But yeah, so that'll be Thursday. I can't believe Thanksgiving's next Thursday
I
already.
know, really. This month has flown by. Yeah, and also the traditional game in Dallas for Thanksgiving. Hopefully, it's not sunny that day because they can't handle the sun in the stadium. It gets in their eyes.
Oh, that's against the Giants. Good Lord.
Oh, you
Three and
know
six. I mean,
that
that game I won't even watch.
that Tommy DeVito Cooper Rush matchup that we've been dreaming about for years
Yeah,
is finally.
baby. Well, my family, the Italian thing, right?
Hey,
Because
Tommy
there'll
DeVito.
be, yeah,
Hey,
you're not your house and my house. There's a turkey, but there's also lasagna right there.
exactly.
Or cannelloni or whatever it may be. So yeah, that Tommy DeVito would be, but yeah, that's going to be that Bears game and Lions game is the best game. Well, that Dolphins Packers might be okay at 8:20, but
Ooh, that's gonna be good.
that
That's
should be
gonna be
good.
good.
Yeah, Tua versus Jordan. Yeah, that should be actually good. But yeah, Giants Cowboys. You know the funny thing is I always see that Giants Cowboys at 4 o'clock or whoever the Cowboys, and I can just hear Pat Summerall and John Madden in my head. Like
With that like six-legged turkey. Yeah.
that, the coveted turkey leg was the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and of course we remember what happened with Jerome Bettis, and
Oh
I never,
God.
yep, I'll never forget. My dad broke the turkey baster. I he did. My mom's like, "You broke the baster. What are you doing over here?" The baster, the turkey basters across the kitchen. The dogs looking at, my dad's, yeah, yeah. I remember we always call that the coin flip the turkey baster game. Yeah.
I was on a cruise ship watching that game.
Are you serious?
Yeah, yeah, right outside Florida waters. And so I didn't hear what was going on. I just saw it on the TV. I'm like, something's going on here. I thought they're going crazy over a coin flip. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah, that's one of those ones where you're sitting in the lazy boy and you get up out of your chair because you're well, wait, what? No, 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 no. My dad's in the kitchen. What happened? Because he's got the little TV in there. Like, I mean, oh yeah, that was. I'll never forget that.
That
We
ruined a
lost the
lot
game.
of Thanksgivings. Yeah,
Yep,
that
yep,
year, 1998. I remember that. I just got married.
yeah.
All
Cool.
right,
All right, Joe.
all right, sir. Hey, I'll see you, man.
Talk to you next week.
Mhm.